Welcome to session number 5, I believe it is, we're into right now. And the session number 5 that we're looking at is how. We've looked at why, we've looked at what next steps, we've looked at work. Of course, we've had our introductory video, and of course, this is now on how. How, the practical how-tos of life. One of the things that is important for us, again, in the steps that we're taking you through, is we need to understand why we're here. We need to understand what steps to take initially, and how we actually get things going, how we start to plan, how we start to get things moving along. And of course, our perspective on life and this perspective on our work life, which is what we did last session, is so valuable, so important to actually how we look at life and how we see things. Now, here's some of the hows, the practical how-tos of life that we're actually looking at today in this session. And we're going to be looking at several things. Now, there are lots of other hows that we could look at, but we're going to look at these 4 things here. First of all, how do we deal with people? That's actually a massive question, something that it can't be done in just one video, but we will cover a lot more of this kind of stuff over the year, as we've said before, over the period of time that you're with us as well. So how do we deal with people? Number 2, how do we deal with problems that come our way? Gosh, that's a big one as well for our lives. Certainly in our work environment, as well for the people side of things, people in relationship in life in general, we've actually got to deal with. But dealing with the problems that come our way, well, how do we actually do that? And how do we, number 3, act when crises come our way? When we're dealing with crises, might be a crisis in our life at the moment, or crises that have come our way. And there might be certain things that you and I have done that haven't really helped the process of what we really need to be doing. So that's number 3. And number 4, practically setting up. How do we practically set up for the win? How do we practically set up for the win? Because all of us really want to win. It's not so much that we want to win from the point of view of arrogance or that kind of stuff, but we want to have a win in life. We want to be significant. We want to be successful. We want to say that we've made a difference, that we've made a mark on the world in which we live. And whether that world is, in relating to that, a smaller world in the sense of just our family and our children and how we really successfully look after that, or that we take it into a bigger number of people. And that is, when people want to be doing things that are on stage or in leadership and various other things, leading countries and so forth and so on. That's some of the bigger stuff, of course, that people are doing. And so we're looking, though, how do we practically set up for the win? That's what we're going to look at during this as well. So we're looking at how do we deal with people? How do we deal with problems that come our way? How do we act when crises come our way? And number 4, practically, how do we practically set up for the win? Now, let's have a look at people. In terms of how we deal with people, just some very common, simple things that, again, sometimes people forget and they don't realize that it is so important. And here's what I want to say. First of all, have a bit of courtesy. Treat people with courtesy. Treat people kindly. Open the door for people. I know that they talk about chivalry being dead, and sometimes people don't even know what the word chivalry means anymore. But the reality is this, that if we can treat each other with courtesy, I believe that we have a real opportunity to open up our hearts and open up other people's hearts to what it is that we have to say and what we have to do. So treat other people with courtesy. Treat other people well, is what I'm trying to say. Second of all, listen. Listen to people. Make sure that you listen to what they have to say. Now, one of the things about listening is that sometimes we kind of get waylaid with other things, and we're thinking about this and thinking about that. We get distracted. We're thinking about all sorts of other stuff that's not as important, perhaps, as the person that we're meant to be present with, which is point number 3. And being present is extremely important. Being present is being there in the moment, being there, talking with the person in the moment, being there, sharing that moment and sharing that laugh, sharing that thing that's actually really valuable to them as much as it could be to you if you're actually making sure that you're present in there. So 3 simple things with people. Now, why just those 3 simple things? Because each and every one of those will open up the door for your further conversations, whether it be in life, in relationships, or in business, or in anything else you might be doing. Now, the thing about it is this, is that when you are genuine with people, when you are honest and you have integrity with people, that will make a massive difference. That makes a big change and a big open door for a lot of things that will happen in your life through people's lives, no matter what the situation may be. These three big overview things, they might seem even small, but they're actually huge. Huge for what it is that we're meant to be doing and what we're meant to be all about. So that's people. Keep taking some of these notes as well, obviously, and we'll be looking at more things in more detail as the year goes on. I'm absolutely positive of it. But the reality is this, is that the next one we're looking at is problems and circumstances. So we're looking at how do we deal with problems and circumstances. First of all, with problems and circumstances, see them as opportunities. We mentioned before about the work acronym if you've studied with us on that one, and I'm sure you have. We asked you to look at things, the letter O, as having an open mind and seeing opportunities. The difficulty that we have sometimes is that we see problems as problems. We see challenges or circumstances as challenges and circumstances, and we forget to see the opportunities there. Oftentimes the problems seen as opportunities have been the things that have actually caused people to become very, very wealthy and become very, very, certainly become very significant in what they do in life anyway. So we've got to see the opportunities in what's going on there. Second of all, become solution-based. People don't want a problem bringer; they want a problem solver. It's all very well. It's very easy to bring problems. I've heard it many, many times over the years where people come into an office, come into a certain situation and say, well, I've got this problem and that problem and that problem and that problem. And they bring nothing else but the problems. I, long time ago, began to sort of say to the people that I was leading and be involved with and in charge of at different times in leadership, I would say to them, you know what, don't ever come into my office with just the problem. Always come into my office with the solution if you have a problem. Even if their solution hasn't got all the answers, at least they're endeavoring to be solution-based. And that's a big, big key. Right there is a massive key in how you can live your life and how you can go well in work, go better in work, get promoted in your workplace, is be solution-based. In your own self-employment, the fact that you come out to a house, for example, if a builder came out to a house and said, well, the person said, well, the customer said, I want this and this and this to be built. And they would say, well, no, we can't do it. Can't be done, never been done, never will be done. Immediately that person has lost the opportunity. Whereas, builder B, this is the next guy that comes along and says, yeah, absolutely. Well, we don't know how to do it right now, but we'll work out a way to do this. There must be some sort of a solution. Immediately that gets a customer on side. Oftentimes ends up being the fact that the client is actually gained as a client, and of course that becomes a successful part of the business. Take initiative is number 3. Take initiative on things. When you've got problems and circumstances, don't sit back and let someone else try and work it out. Take initiative. Step forward. Take action as to what you can do to make things happen as well. And then last, but certainly not least, in all of these, each and every one of these actually probably have a lesson on their own later on in the time that you have with us. But take initiative is a massive one, where you actually just step forward and people are looking for people to take initiative. And lastly, be proactive, not reactive. Proactive, not reactive. In other words, when you see a circumstance, get on the front foot and begin to not be reactive about the things that are there. Don't be reactive, but be proactive. In other words, if we spend all of our time being reactive all the time, if we're like, oh gosh, something's happened, oh now I've got to react to that. And oftentimes that can be reaction out of emotion or feeling, and sometimes the decisions we make out of reaction can be the wrong kinds of decisions completely. But being proactive means that we think through the process and we work through that situation, and we actually begin to be proactive. We begin to get on the front foot to what it is that needs to happen. And finally, in this lesson, how to win. We all want to win. All of us want to win. Some people might say, oh, no, I don't want to win in everything. But you know what? We do want to win in life. Ultimately, we want to have a great life. We want to enjoy life. And that's all part of the winning. The winning is not just about winning and beating someone for beating them's sake, being competitive for being competitive sake, or being, comparison, or that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how to win. First of all, you need to have a winning attitude, an attitude that says, you know what? no matter what the circumstance, I am going to step forward. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to allow circumstances to let me, get the best of me. And we talked about that just a few moments ago about being proactive rather than reactive. And a winning attitude means that inside this head, our mindset is such that when a circumstances come, when we fail, we must remain winners on the inside. In other words, even when failures come our way, when we fail in some endeavor that we've been trying to work on, whatever the case may be, I can tell you now that if we can actually begin to understand that failure is just an event, but it's not a lifestyle, it's not a life, it's not part of our life as such. When we fail, we must remain winners on the inside. On the inside, in our heart, in our mind, we must actually remain winners. In other words, we think as a winner does. We think as a winner does in the sense that, you know what, I got that wrong, but that's one step closer to actually getting the solution and winning and getting and overcoming in that situation. And finally, the shortest but most powerful, I believe, one of the most powerful speeches ever made was made by Sir Winston Churchill. And that was never, ever, ever give up. And he said that in a boys' school during the Second World War. And he got up and he said that and he sat down again. And it impacted the whole of that boys' school, but ultimately the whole of that nation as well. And that nation didn't give up. And that nation actually became what they meant to become. So let me just say this, how to win. We're looking at winning attitude. We're looking at if we fail, if we do mess up, we must remain winners on the inside. And finally, we must never, ever, ever give up. Well, that completes our section now on the hows, the how-tos. There's so much more about that. We'll be talking more about that throughout the time. As I said, each and every one of these subjects can actually be expanded into some more things. So we're going to look more at that as time goes along. But that completes that session with us today. So thank you so much for doing that. Keep completing your notes. Keep being present with everything that's being said. And this is Sandy signing off from Gap Coaching and Mentoring. Bye for now.